Once upon a time, in a faraway land called Moab, there lived a young woman named Ruth. Ruth was kind and hard-working, and she had a heart full of love. She lived with her husband Mahlon and her mother-in-law Naomi. Naomi was originally from a place called Bethlehem in the land of Israel. She had come to Moab with her husband Elimelech and their 2 sons because there was a great famine in Bethlehem. Sadly, Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, leaving her with her 2 sons. Her sons married women from Moab, one of whom was Ruth. But after 10 years, both of Naomi's sons also died. Naomi was very sad. She decided to go back to Bethlehem because she heard that the famine was over and that God had blessed the land with food again. Naomi told her daughters-in-law, Ruth and Orpah, about her plan to return to Bethlehem. She urged them to stay in Moab and return to their own families. Orpah, with a heavy heart, decided to stay in Moab. She hugged Naomi goodbye and went back to her family. But Ruth was different. She loved Naomi deeply and didn't want to leave her. She held Naomi's hand and said, "Don't ask me to leave you. Where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord punish me if anything but death separates you and me." Naomi saw how determined Ruth was and decided to let her come along. Together, they set off on a long journey to Bethlehem. When Naomi and Ruth arrived in Bethlehem, the whole town was excited. The women of the town asked, "Can this be Naomi?" But Naomi told them, "Don't call me Naomi, which means pleasant. Call me Mara, which means bitter, because the Almighty has made my life very sad." Naomi and Ruth didn't have much, but they had each other. They needed food, so Ruth asked Naomi if she could go to the fields and gather leftover grains behind the harvesters. This was a common practice for people who were poor and didn't have enough to eat. Ruth went to a field that belonged to a man named Boaz. Boaz was a wealthy and kind man, and he happened to be a relative of Naomi's late husband, Elimelech. When Boaz saw Ruth working hard in his field, he asked his workers about her. They told him she was the young woman from Moab who had come back with Naomi. Boaz was impressed by Ruth's dedication to Naomi. He went to Ruth and said, "Don't go and glean in another field. Stay here with my servant girls. I've told the men not to bother you, and whenever you are thirsty, go and get a drink from the water jars the men have filled." Ruth was very grateful and asked, "Why have I found such favor in your eyes, since I am a foreigner?" Boaz replied, "I've heard all about what you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband. May the Lord repay you for what you have done. May you be richly rewarded by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge." Ruth continued to work in Boaz's field through the barley and wheat harvests. She always brought home what she had gathered to Naomi, and they had enough to eat. Naomi was very happy with Ruth's hard work and kindness. One day, Naomi said to Ruth, "My daughter, I must find a home for you, where you will be well provided for. Boaz, with whose women you have worked, is a relative of ours. Tonight he will be winnowing barley on the threshing floor. Wash and perfume yourself, and put on your best clothes. Then go down to the threshing floor. But don't let him know you are there until he has finished eating and drinking. When he lies down, note the place where he is lying. Then go and uncover his feet and lie down. He will tell you what to do." Ruth did exactly as Naomi told her. When Boaz had finished eating and drinking and was in good spirits, he went to lie down at the far end of the grain pile. Ruth approached quietly, uncovered his feet, and lay down. In the middle of the night, something startled Boaz. He turned and discovered a woman lying at his feet. "Who are you?" he asked. "I am your servant Ruth," she said. "Spread the corner of your garment over me, since you are a guardian redeemer of our family." Boaz was touched by Ruth's request. He said, "The Lord bless you, my daughter. This kindness is greater than that which you showed earlier. You have not run after the younger men, whether rich or poor. And now, my daughter, don't be afraid. I will do all you ask. All the people of my town know that you are a good woman. Although it is true that I am a guardian redeemer of our family, there is another who is more closely related than I. Stay here for the night, and in the morning, if he wants to do his duty as your guardian redeemer, good. Let him redeem you. But if he is not willing, as surely as the Lord lives, I will do it. Lie here until morning." So Ruth lay at his feet until morning, but got up before anyone could be recognized. Boaz said, "Don't let it be known that a woman came to the threshing floor." He also said, "Bring me the shawl you are wearing and hold it out." When she did so, he poured into it 6 measures of barley and placed the bundle on her. Then he went back to town. When Ruth came to her mother-in-law, Naomi asked, "How did it go, my daughter?" Then Ruth told her everything Boaz had done for her and added, "He gave me these 6 measures of barley, saying, 'Don't go back to your mother-in-law empty-handed.'" Naomi said, "Wait, my daughter, until you find out what happens, for the man will not rest until the matter is settled today." Boaz went up to the town gate and sat down there just as the guardian redeemer he had mentioned came along. Boaz said, "Come over here, my friend, and sit down." So he went over and sat down. Boaz took 10 of the elders of the town and said, "Sit here," and they did so. Then he said to the guardian redeemer, "Naomi, who has come back from Moab, is selling the piece of land that belonged to our relative Elimelech. I thought I should bring the matter to your attention and suggest that you buy it in the presence of these seated here and in the presence of the elders of my people. If you will redeem it, do so. But if you will not, tell me, so I will know. For no one has the right to do it except you, and I am next in line." "I will redeem it," he said. Then Boaz said, "On the day you buy the land from Naomi, you also acquire Ruth the Moabite, the dead man's widow, in order to maintain the name of the dead with his property." At this, the guardian redeemer said, "Then I cannot redeem it because I might endanger my own estate. You redeem it yourself. I cannot do it." Now, in earlier times in Israel, for the redemption and transfer of property to become final, one party took off his sandal and gave it to the other. This was the method of legalizing transactions in Israel. So the guardian redeemer said to Boaz, "Buy it yourself," and he removed his sandal. Then Boaz announced to the elders and all the people, "Today you are witnesses that I have bought from Naomi all the property of Elimelech, Kilion, and Mahlon. I have also acquired Ruth the Moabite, Mahlon's widow, as my wife, in order to maintain the name of the dead with his property, so that his name will not disappear from among his family or from his hometown. Today you are witnesses." Then the elders and all the people at the gate said, "We are witnesses. May the Lord make the woman who is coming into your home like Rachel and Leah, who together built up the family of Israel. May you have standing in Ephrathah and be famous in Bethlehem. Through the offspring the Lord gives you by this young woman, may your family be like that of Perez, whom Tamar bore to Judah." So Boaz took Ruth, and she became his wife. When he made love to her, the Lord enabled her to conceive, and she gave birth to a son. The women said to Naomi, "Praise be to the Lord, who this day has not left you without a guardian redeemer. May he become famous throughout Israel. He will renew your life and sustain you in your old age. For your daughter-in-law, who loves you and who is better to you than 7 sons, has given him birth." Then Naomi took the child in her arms and cared for him. The women living there said, "Naomi has a son," and they named him Obed. He was the father of Jesse, the father of David. The story of Ruth didn't end with her happy marriage to Boaz or the birth of their son, Obed. Ruth's love and loyalty continued to be an inspiration for many generations. Little Obed grew up to be a kind and wise man, just like his mother and father. He had a son named Jesse, and Jesse had many sons, one of whom was David, who would one day become the great king of Israel. King David was a brave and wise king, loved by the people and chosen by God to lead Israel. David's heart was full of love and courage, traits that were passed down from his great-grandmother Ruth. David remembered the stories about Ruth, her kindness, and her faithfulness. He often thought about how her love for Naomi had changed their family's history. The story of Ruth teaches us many important lessons. Ruth showed us what it means to be loyal and loving. She left her home and everything she knew to take care of Naomi. She worked hard in the fields to provide for her and Naomi, and she trusted God to take care of them. Boaz showed us how to be kind and generous. He noticed Ruth's hard work and made sure she was safe and had enough to eat. He honored his promise to Ruth and Naomi, and he became their guardian redeemer. Naomi's story shows us how to trust in God's plan. Even though she faced many hardships, she never lost faith. She guided Ruth and supported her, and in the end, God blessed her with a new family and a grandchild to love. Ruth's story was told and retold throughout Israel. Mothers and fathers would tell their children about Ruth's bravery and her deep love for Naomi. They would talk about how Ruth's loyalty and hard work led to blessings for her and her family. Ruth's story also taught the people of Israel about the importance of welcoming strangers and showing kindness to everyone. Ruth was a foreigner in Israel, but she was accepted and loved because of her good heart and her love for Naomi. Every year, the people of Bethlehem would celebrate the harvest. They would gather in the fields, sing songs, and give thanks to God for the bountiful crops. During these celebrations, they would also remember Ruth and Boaz, whose love story began in those very fields. Children would play games and dance, and the elders would tell the story of Ruth and Boaz, reminding everyone of the importance of love, loyalty, and faith. The story of Ruth became a symbol of hope and inspiration for the people of Israel. Ruth's story was written down so that future generations could learn from her example. It became part of the Holy Scriptures, and people all over the world read about Ruth's love and faithfulness. The story of Ruth continues to inspire people to be kind, to work hard, and to trust in God's plan. It reminds us that even in difficult times, love and loyalty can lead to great blessings. And so, the story of Ruth, a woman from Moab who loved her mother-in-law Naomi and found a new home in Bethlehem, became one of the most beloved stories in the Bible. Her life showed that love knows no boundaries and that faith and kindness can change the world. Ruth's story is a reminder that no matter where we come from or what challenges we face, we can make a difference by being kind, loving, and faithful. Just like Ruth, we can find our place in God's family and leave a legacy of love for future generations to cherish.